It's happening. We're live. This is episode 10 of the Practical
Yay.
AI Show. I can't believe it. Here we are, a milestone,
That's
a round
huge.
number.
Congratulations to us. We should celebrate.
I know.
This,
Woo!
this is
Champagne
great. Well,
emoji.
welcome to Practical AI. We have quite a week for all of us to talk about. There's so much going on. I'm getting dizzy. And so this is the place to be if it's your first time to get caught up on all the latest trends and news that's happening in AI. And we especially talk about practical application of what's happening to our lives and our businesses. Because I don't really care about the fluff. I care about how do I use this stuff to save money, make money, save time, make money, get better, ship faster, whatever. So today we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. Should I go ahead and kind of talk about what we talk about?
Well, we can just say the AI world got thrown into a blender this week and shaken up pretty massively. We've seen lots of new releases of stuff. So if you've been on internet, on socials this week, you've certainly seen a bunch of videos generated by the new Sora 2 video engine. I saw a 2-minute South Park segment that was generated on Sora that was like accurate to characters and like behaviors and stuff like that. I mean, so amazing stuff happening there. We've got new shifts in vibe coding. We've got OpenAI making some serious moves that Olga's going to unpack for us that kind of pointing to what the internet's going to be like for the next 10 years, I think. So a lot of interesting stuff happening. I can't believe I say this every week, but it's like, how do things keep changing like this? How does this all keep happening? But this week it was really happening. So let's dive in and see what's new.
So first of all, I went over probably about 30 newsletters in the last week that are AI related. So I've gone through, I've dug through a lot of interesting things, and kind of summed it up just to a handful of episodes segments that we'll be covering, and then we're also going to have a little news round with just like super fast news, and then we're going to finish it up with the funding, kind of what happened with the funding. So the first segment of the day is OpenAI's monetization machine, and the quiet build is over. So last week when we parted ways, we talked about Pulse and the implication of it being the kind of the social media format of scrolling. So it's another place to scroll. And so that started kind of getting me, once Chris and I finished the show, we started talking a bit more about what would the ads look like, what would the platform look like, and what would it actually feel when we log into ChatGPT and we will start getting this news overnight, but we will not know if it's ads now, if it's not ads, and how it's going to all work out. So that sort of got me off to chase this, what is it, go down the rabbit hole? Is that
Yeah,
what
you went down the rabbit hole.
to understand like what is happening, because I feel like, and then on top of that, OpenAI announced, I think on Monday, that they are partnering up with Shopify and Stripe to make shopping easier, and whatever you look for on in ChatGPT, now you can buy it easy, and maybe you can talk more about what that looks like to, from the technical standpoint. So that was the second thing. So Pulse on Friday. Monday was the release about the paying in AI and the recommending you things, and then it finished up with Sora thing. That was another. So I started thinking, what is their plan? Because clearly they are on a mission to monetize OpenAI, and I'm sure they're feeling a lot of pressure, from investors. And actually, last night news is that some of the stock was sold. It's not a public company yet, it's private, but the employees sold some of the stock. So I'm assuming to get some of the cash back as they're, kind of getting this momentum. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. So let's unpack this. So first, I want to, we made the slides today, so we're gonna kind of, you can track with us on what's going on. But so here's what's going on. So AI has been quietly rolling out a series of monetization levers for a long time. So I went back to late 2023. That's when creators could build and share custom GPTs. So no monetization at launch, but it's a clear sign that's an app store model forming, right? So we know when you build a GPT right now, you can make it a private, or you can share it with others, and you can make money that way. In April 2024, the GPT builder payouts begin. So GPTs now earn creators money based on user engagement, and this turns OpenAI into the two-sided marketplace. Like Apple, OpenAI owns the rails and the fees, right? So they're becoming the big store over there. Then July 2024, monetization infrastructure hiring. So this is, as a recruiter, I always pay attention to the hiring, because hiring usually is strategic, and it starts way before, like it takes a while to find the right people. So in July of 2024, they started posting jobs for monetization architects and ad infrastructure engineers. And these are back-end investments, and they signal that they're building for sustained monetization at scale, right? Interesting point. So they're definitely thinking about this. August 2024, instant checkout launch. Did you know this? That they already had that? I had no idea.
Did not know that.
ChatGPT users can buy Etsy products directly in chat. While not labeled ads, OpenAI receives merchant commissions, commerce inside conversations. So they're not labeling them, but they are receiving merchant commissions. Questions about, what do you think about that? Not sure. What does that mean? But, let's keep going, right? So let's kind of finish this history of monetization so far. September 2024, product listings in responses. ChatGPT responses start showing structured product cards, price reviews. No paid placement yet, but this is a functional template for ads as answers. Interesting. October 2025, ChatGPT Pulse launches. That was literally last week. Pulse delivers daily AI briefings using chat history, calendar, and emails. Useful, of course, but it also builds habitual behavior, contextual awareness, and prime surfaces for future monetized recommendations. So now our attention becomes, gets monetized. So, and that's in addition to us paying monthly, and I think ChatGPT can be free as well, but I know I'm paying monthly for use in my business account or whatever. So far, what are you seeing from the tech standpoint? And also, we're going to talk about kind of what the future looks like in a little bit. But so far, what do you think about all this history? And now that we even have this next layer of Shopify and Stripe, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'm kind of bringing together some other information that we covered in previous weeks. I think it was last week, we explored the kind of the data histogram of how people use ChatGPT. And 2.1% of queries were for like product searches, product comparisons, people comparison shopping for like retail products they might buy. That was only 2.1% of all the usage. So not a high deal there. But, in September 2024, they rolled out structured product cards with like pricing and reviews for product stuff and the Etsy products. Those are products. But again, they know now that was only 2.1% of their total usage. So they've got to be sitting there thinking, well, we want to capture more than this. What does that look like? And so what are people doing with these AIs? They're asking questions. They're trying to put together workflows. They're doing more of these augmented type things rather than just searching for products to buy. Like that's a real basic type of commerce. I want to buy this thing. I go to the store, or I order this thing and get it. But obviously what we are trying to do with AI is sort of a higher level thing. We're trying to put things together so that kind of delves into services. It delves into like agency work. It delves into more sophisticated undertakings. And, it's one thing to have, sure, they're going to have ads for like basic products, but that's not really sexy. So they're setting the stage for things like paid placements in response to queries. It's like, okay, you asked this. Well, hey, did you know there's this firm that specializes in solving this problem for you with AI? or just solving this problem for you generally. So that type of thing is coming. I'm looking at this whole landscape and I'm thinking about the way Google Ads sort of transformed that part of the internet and how SEO agencies over time, at first it was about placement in search engines, and then it became really about like managing ads. You had to know PPC, all that stuff. So they became ad engineers essentially. And then now we're seeing that like this is the next evolution of that is going to be dealing with ad placements and targeting within these chatbots. And it's more targeted. It's better. So we've talked before about how search is like this real rough thing. Like you're looking for a keyword in a document, but AIs are like asking very specific questions. And you can give more specific answers. That's what we desire. That's what we're aiming for, is to provide more specific answers to these questions. And that leads to more sophisticated ads, more targeted ads, more like meeting the consumer right where they are with exactly what they need.
Not just with search, the AI, I mean, it also knows your emotional state because a lot of people are using it for all kinds of therapies and talking through this and coaching and this and that. I mean, it knows your personality. It knows your patterns. It knows your habits. That is insane. As an ad person, like looking at this data, like I don't think this ever happened before. Like they can see your soul.
So a lot of the stuff that around this, some of the documents, they're always talking about like real time or immediate responses. So like I didn't just pay to have this ad show up in an X feed and hope it gets targeted to the demographic. Like if somebody asks this question, I can meet them right now with the answer. Like that is a crazy bit of of a shift there where it's not like putting up a billboard and hoping the right people see it. Now this is like, this person just asked this exact question.
Well, and okay, let's talk about Shopify, right? This whole thing with Shopify that they just added. And they are getting commission on the back end of that, which is, but how do they know who gets recommended? What if there's a competition between Shopify stores? Like, how are they going to handle that? Is it going to be whoever has the best, GEO, AEO? Is it going to be like, who is going to be bumped up in searches and how? I want to know on the merchant side, yes, it's great that Shopify kind of partner up, but from the back end, how do you think they can possibly, like, I'm just like, my mind cannot wrap my brain around that. You don't see the links, so maybe you do see the links, but what do you think about
So the previous history of the internet is that right now, it suggests that right now there's going to be a gold rush for AEO and geo optimization to get to have your stuff appear in the answers generated by the LLMs. So that's the initial gold rush. This lasted a long time with Google, like from 2005, we'll say, to 2010. That was like kind of the play.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like 5 years. This isn't going to last that long. This little AEO geo gold rush, it matters, but it's going to be taken over by this tidal wave of specific ad style, adaptation and
but if you're searching for something right now, and Shopify obviously is partner up now, and it shows you the, I guess, recommendations based on what you're looking for. How can you as a merchant have visibility into any of that? Is it going to be some kind of panel, some plugin, some kind of, what would that look like? And maybe we don't have all the answers for that yet. But as somebody who is in Shopify, like who sells on Shopify, this is something that I'll be very curious about, and very interesting, because I have no idea what that looks like.
I assume they're going to be building a premium business type account thing where you get in and then you get access to these analytics. Like, how much of my stuff showing up? What types of queries?
Kind of like Google, maybe you pay per whatever the word is. Now you can compete. Maybe that's what they're building.
Yeah, you're going to get an analytics dashboard that you pay for.
Of course, it's all going to be about who pays.
But this is going to be the richest business data that's ever existed.
Yeah,
because you're getting essentially live market sentiment. And also like the vibe, like what direction are people looking? Because it's not always like you have this product, you offer this, but people are looking in a slightly different direction. So you got to find that exact right fit. This is really going to augment that process and make that way better. And I think we have to double down here on the ChatGPT Pulse, Because what they're trying to do is get you in a habit of daily usage and get you in a frame of mind where you want some news from this thing daily, like a journal that's developed just for you based on what's happening in the world. And so if you're using this thing every day and getting the pulse from ChatGPT, eventually there's going to be ads inlaid into that are totally based on your profile.
Oh my God, it's going to be
that's
great.
clearly going to happen.
Yep. And yeah, who knows what we're going to see there. Can you scroll up a little bit? So I want to move. No, I'm sorry, Don. I want to move to the next kind of the future. Go down to the magic crystal ball. So based on that, I asked kind of what is the next likely monetization features? Like what's the forecast, right? And some of the things that I saw, which you kind of mentioned already, right? There will be sponsored product suggestions. So shopping integrations are in place. All that's missing is paid placement. So maybe that's where, just like now with Google, right? Whoever wants to pay for more premium, I don't know, terms or search term. I don't know how that works with Google.
It's an auction marketplace for them.
Right. So there will be probably some kind of auction thing over there that merchants can compete, I guess, with their products. Probably that's what they're going to be testing out right now. Then another most likely monetization feature will be GPT Store featured listings and boostings, just like in the App Store. Creators will likely pay to rank higher or get featured. And then obviously we talked about pulse ad units or recommendations. Daily briefings, a prime territory for subtle, high trust sponsored inserts. What would that look like? I don't know. User tier fragmentation. Think Spotify free ads. If it's free, that's ads premium clean, I'm hoping. And then expect feature gating and A/B tests. And then partner GPT monetization tiers. And developers may pay to access high engagement users or unlock capabilities.
That's the thing. You're going to pay for your analytics dashboard so you can really do some advanced targeting.
So now, is AI helping us with help? Or is it selling to us? This is the big question that it went from like me kind of being excited about it to now I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna sell to me. Would I know when it sells to me? How can I trust the results that it's giving me? Like I have lots of thoughts.
I mean, the world's constantly selling to you whether you like it or not.
Well, obviously, but this was cute and fluffy, and now it doesn't look as cute and fluffy anymore. So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Well, the early stages, I can ask some questions and get some answers, some real nice answers, and that's cute. But how useful is that? Like this is always rolling into a place where it's more useful, and they are seeking engagement. They have high engagement. They have a lot of daily.
Yeah, what do they have?
users.
Latest was about 700 million users.
Yep.
Monthly or weekly? I think it was weekly.
It's it's top 10 websites now. I think it was 4th or something last time we checked.
Yeah. It's pretty high up.
Yeah. So there you go. You're getting this whether you like it or not.
I guess the question will be like Google, right? Like Google figured out how to put the ads that people can see and know that they're ads. So I guess there will be some kind of trust factor.
They have to disclose by FTC rules and all that stuff.
I don't know how it's going to work out. And then, should there be a disclosure system for
FTC
kind of AI generated suggestions influenced by business models? Like, what would that look like? I want to know.
I mean, there's going to be a whole thing that unfolds here. It's like, I assume it's going to be like similar to Google Ads and how that developed, but it's going to be a competitive marketplace for attention.
Well, and the question is like, are we entering a world where AI assistants now evolve into influencers with the bias and brand entanglements that implies? Like,
I mean, so picture this. So with the video generation, you could log in the morning and it could have a video ready for you with a bunch of scenes, and the scenes in the video could themselves be ads. So it's not like a standalone ad unit with like an image or something. It's like this was in the video. It was like showing your avatar doing something that you can go pay for and do, having some experience, going to some theme park. But it's like you're seeing this parasympathetic thing. You're like watching yourself do this thing, and it's generating desire. Like the ads are going to be in videos that are made just for you.
Oof.
All kinds of stuff like this.
I'm just gonna want to buy it all the time. Buy. Hey, we're not ready for the slide yet.
Whoa, don't look, people, don't look.
Go back up. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to kind of discuss with you today was, how do you, as somebody who's watching our show today, what do you do with this information? This is happening. This is coming. GEO is no longer this nice to have or anything like that. Especially if you're in e-commerce and you are selling on Shopify, this is your like golden opportunity to really, ride the momentum right now. But I kind of wanted to see what can our viewers do with this information. And so, one of the things that kind of I saw what you could do. I don't know if you currently have GPTs. I have some. I potentially could be selling them. I guess I could monetize them and kind of put them on the ChatGPT store. But how do you, basically the question of the day is, knowing that AI is moving to monetization strategy like that, how can you, our viewer, ride this momentum and do something with this right now? How can you build for it? What can you sell there? What can you do? How can you prepare? So these are the questions that I want you to think about. So some of the ideas, right? Kind of audit your dependency on AI ecosystem. So make sure that you diversify. So you're not going to be, you're not going to just be tied to ChatGPT if that's the only place. Kind of like have other options in case ChatGPT starts monopolizing. Is that the word?
Yep, monopolizing
that. You got to prepare for recommendation disclosure. So if AI assistants start injecting monetized content, users will demand transparency. So you got to build or request features in your CMS tools to tag sponsored or AI influenced outputs. So you're gonna kind of prepare for that. Design for embedded commerce now. So instant checkout and product cards are just the start. If you run
Let's talk about that real quick. So
you'll soon be able to tap this format. Yeah, so tell me more.
The future could be that you sell, but you don't sell on your website.
Ooh.
You're used to selling on your website, and that's like the whole engine where it happens, but it may not happen there in the future. And I think in a lot of cases, it's not going to. You're going to basically receive an order that was created and processed in the AIs.
Well, and the question goes again, who is the gatekeeper for that? How does it show up? How does your content
They're
show
already
up?
taking a chunk of this stuff. They've already got the model in place, really. It's just in a limited context right now, but that's going to be expanding. I would assume that's the goal.
Yeah, I mean, right now it's like some algorithm at OpenAI that's deciding who to push in the feed for you to buy. And that's interesting.
We'll better understand this landscape. Like for me, it's hard to imagine. So if I sell software and you need to like log into my website to download the software to manage your account or whatever, how could AI serve as a gateway for that?
Well, I think it's probably for e-commerce the most. So like,
obviously for retail products,
right,
this is definitely it.
Right.
It makes sense for that.
Hi, Esther. Yes, for sure. So this is going to be interesting to watch how it's going to unfold, because that's what they're tackling e-commerce. I mean, your intuition and your sixth sense was on, because when as you're working on Page Motor, you are talking about e-commerce being sort of at the front thing, because that's the first thing to monetize, I'm guessing. And then, so a couple other things that I kind of thought about that will be useful for our audience. You can use Pulse-like briefings internally. So OpenAI's Pulse shows how daily proactive insights boost engagement and behavior. So you can use AI to create morning briefs for your site, sales, or content. Here are this week's top performing pages and missing keywords. So basically being more proactive about what's happening with your product, whatever service, whatever it is that you're selling, to push to your audience to kind of get them, I guess, hooked on the data that is AI driven, and some suggestions that were not there before. So be more proactive versus just reactive. And then you own your own recommendation layer. So if the big platform profit from your user data, you got to flip the model and use lightweight AI tools to generate in-house recommendations that route users to your own products or partners, not theirs. again, this comes back to centralized versus decentralized. And it's about to get even more crazy. So,
I mean, I feel like this is like a vortex that we just can't escape on the internet. And the reason why, so what I mean is we always gravitate towards these centralized services, even though we knowingly give up freedoms and money. Essentially, like we're kind of we have lock-in, we're tied to these things in ways that we don't love. And yet, if you just run the human experiment, these things win out every time. People voluntarily choose them. Centralized services offer a much leaner, much cleaner, much simpler onboarding process. And that really is the bottom line. If you can get people to that point where things happen, to the point of action, more seamlessly, that's going to win every time, despite whatever the drawbacks are. And these, so it has been social media. And in the future, it looks like it's going to be these chatbots, these AIs that people interface with, the prompts where they're going all the time, especially if they're getting, information that's dopamine style, kind of like feeds.
Oh, woohoo. And yeah, so they're becoming AI platforms, becoming publishers, marketplaces, and sales engines in disguise. So
but it's a symbiotic relationship. They are only as effective as the nodes that they can get information from. The nodes that they can get information from are like decentralized websites and also social media content that people put out there.
Then what's the point of Shopify making this partnership, right? So why not Spotify? Did I say Spotify? Shopify. Shopify. Like clearly there's a reason why they're partnering up with them.
Well, I mean, the stores exist, the Shopify stores, but the big question of internet is not like, can you have the store? That's hard enough, but that's, a solvable problem. The question is, how do I actually get customers? And that's increasingly difficult. You really have to have a social media channel that's driving this now. Without something like that, you really have nothing. And this emergence of this, potential traffic through AIs is the new avenue through which you can actually reach people. So it's of great interest to me because I'm, suffering because of the internet traffic problem, which has become increasingly more constrained, and like you really can't break out of this unless you have a big profile.
Well, and now I watched the interview of one of the Shopify's execs, and he said their goal is always to be where their customer is. And I thought that was brilliant because their customer is moving to...
Yeah, that's where the stores are going to get their traffic. Yeah. It makes sense.
So anyway, if you're watching this, congratulations. Now go do something with this in terms of ride this wave of what the user is moving towards, and kind of build on that so we can take advantage of that and be one of the first, I guess, adopters.
And like I said, the gold rush for AEO and GEO is happening right now. Like you can capitalize on this right now. And it'd be, it's a fun little experimentation game. I like the game where, you create this kind of content. In the previous episode 9, I detailed exactly what that might look like. It is a more granular content structure than we've been accustomed to. We've been writing things like listicles. These have been dominant on Google forever. We're like, oh, here's 10 things that you need to do this one process. And all those 10 things are on one page. In the new landscape, each individual point is on its own page. And then you have one page that points to the other pages and ties the process together for humans. And that can also tie it together for LLMs. But the reason it has to be separate now is because these engines are seeking binary yeses or nos. Mm-hmm. They want to know that this source of information is the true source. It is a yes or no answer to the question that's been asked. So it must be chunked in this manner. And if you go through that process and play that game right now, you will see some results. Now, we don't really have the analytics dashboards in place to do this. You can kind of infer it from something like Google Analytics. That's the best you can do for now. But that game is being played right now, and there is a gold rush for that. But it's a limited time offer because the ad engine is coming, and it's going to be a pay-to-play thing eventually. And
it's going to be a commerce engine that I don't think any of us can imagine. I mean, they'll be printing money. So the question is, who is joining the bandwagon and that train going that direction?
Customer matching ability of this new landscape that's emerging is unreal.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
Yeah. Anyway, any other takeaways before we move on?
Nope. Let's move on.
All right. Next segment of the day is it comes from another survey. You know me, I like data. And the segment is called Your AI Isn't Broken, Your Data Is. And so here's what happened. Cloudera did an enterprise AI survey for 2025. This was their second survey. They did that last year as well. And what they did is they surveyed over 1,500 enterprise leaders and found some eye-opening, takeaways. So when it comes to AI integration and core business processes, I guess I'm not going to ask because you already have a slide up, but I wanted to say how many enterprises would say that they at least somewhat integrate AI in their core workflows.
I wouldn't have guessed that high a number.
But okay, ta-da, it's 96%.
I think it feels like a participation trophy to me. I wonder how many are really useful.
This is why I have the meme there. Okay, we're getting to that. So compared to last year, because of course your girl had to go and look up last year and what happened last year. Last year was 88% reported AI integration. So 8% points went up, and I think it's way too I don't know, like optimistic maybe. Like they say somewhat. So I guess it depends on how people define somewhat integrated into core workflows. But here's the deal. I mean, that's a pretty good big number out of 1,500 enterprise leaders that they are thinking about it. This is no longer pilot testing phase. This is a near universal operational presence. It's no longer emerging. It's table stakes. All right. So when it comes to, do you have any takes on this before I kind of move on?
They pointed to the big elephant in the room. 37% said data integration.
Well, hold on. I'm getting to that. But do you have any point of that, the first one? No.
No, nothing about the first one.
So when it comes to full data accessibility for AI, only 9% of enterprises say all of their data is accessible and usable for AI workloads. Well, in 2024, compared to that was 13 to 15%. So it actually went down. Okay. So it went down from 13% down to 9, whatever. So it's like it decreased. So I guess people realizing what data accessibility means is not what people thought that meant.
That's the deal there. They're like, oh crap, it's not what we thought.
Yes, and enterprises now discovering that their AI dreams are gated by real world plumbing. I thought that was funny. Because that's what it is. Like you can have the best AI in the world and the best model in the world, but if your data sucks the way it's integrated or being accessible, like you're cooked.
The AI can only do so much. It can only do what you give it. The output is only as good as the input. It can never be better.
So the third point that I wanted to discuss in the survey before we move kind of to the next step was that their top technical bottleneck is data integration. So 37% set data integration as the top AI scaling barrier. And in 2024, it was just among the top 3 concerns, not the leading one. Now it's the top one. Compute cost and skills gaps were more dominant. So now it rose to be number 1 pain point. Data integration is number 1 pain point. And so what that means is as usage expands across departments and data silos, integration becomes the choke point. And so if the data is not flowing, nothing works. Wow.
So the Nostradamus of practical AI actually predicted this.
Oh.
Yes. So if I recall, the Nostradamus said that these companies would figure out that their systems don't work with AI in a way that they can really leverage it. And so right now they've made the realization that it's the data problem. And they're not wrong. It is the data problem. But data is just there. Okay? Data gets moved around and used by software. Software is essentially, you can think of it as existing systems for all these businesses. They have software. The software determines what their existing systems are. And their existing systems are not built in a consistent way, like across departments. Like the bigger the company, the more you see this fracturing of like, well, we call this thing this over here. It's the same thing, but in this department, they refer to it a little differently. They handle it a little differently. So you have all these differences in the way data is even referred to. You have differences in the way it's handled. You have different software that's not really connected. You got this whole landscape that's just this patchwork of a bunch of stuff that's been put together over time to get the job done. But now that we have AI, the AI exposes all this and says, hey, I need a unified thing here to be able to operate on this across departments in a way that really gives you leverage and allows you to eliminate some of these goofy things, or to proceduralize a lot of these tasks that were taking place. Like it used to go here, and then it would go over to this department and for clearance, and then it would go here. Like that worked because of the humans, filling in the gaps. But now AI's got to do it. AI doesn't have that human reasoning and like all this contextual stuff that these departments have. It needs consistency. So the real thing here is the great refactoring. The problem is the systems need to be rebuilt to leverage this data. It's not that there's a problem with the data. Well, there is a problem with the data because, like I said, they've got it.
Well, I think we can now augment your definition of great refactoring. So it's not just the sloppy code that companies were able to write on forever and ever. Now it's the data that is a little bit of here, a little bit of here. Anybody who ever worked at a big company knows this. Like some information is not being shared over here, some information not being shared over there. Well, that's not going to work. That's what the plumbing is. If it's not flowing, it's not going to happen. And
this is a great detail about the larger thing about software development that's not well understood. But I use this little saying to describe it. The shape of your data determines the shape of your software. If your data model is a jumbled mess, the software to deal with it is also going to be a jumbled mess. And so, while this has been a novelty thing for me to explain in the past, now there's a real need to understand this correlation between the shape of your data and the shape of your software. These two things have to match. And when it's harmonious, the results can be unreal, and AI will be able to leverage them in ways that seem like magic. But that's where we have to go. It's becoming clear, like kind of the dust is settling, and all these companies are realizing, oh man, like this is the direction we have to go. We don't have a choice.
So your girl over here had to, of course, go and look what are the best ones doing with their data to access. Oh, I put this meme in there because be honest. Oh yes, we've got the best data integration ever. I'm being honest. Like this is, to me, like really caught what the actual state of things are right now when it comes to data integration at big companies. I don't know if they're really, like, a lot of them, like, I think this data is going to go even more down next year as they start digging deeper and realizing just how terrible. Like you can put anybody who's ever cleaned the house before the guests come over, right? Like, you just like put things whatever anywhere, but you can only do this for so long before the house literally explodes. And so like this is a time to start being proactive about this. So as a crazy scientist that I'm in, I went and looked at what the big companies that are doing this well, what are they doing right? And then what I did is I took this, because it's for enterprises, and then I took that data and I wanted to see how can creators and smaller businesses use this information today to start the healthy habits now, right? So you don't have to have a messy house, for the future. So the companies that are doing this well in terms of integrating their, data, what they do is they have unified data fabrics. So they stitch together CRM, content, ops, and sales into this governed data mesh. So I've never heard of the company C Data, but
I looked up some of this stuff. I was curious about C Data in particular.
Yeah, API gateways. So APIs are going to be very important. So no more of this. Some lives on my hard drive, some lives on whatever. Number two things the companies that do this well is data virtualization. So AI queries live data across.
It queries live data across platforms without replicating the data.
So what you tell me what that means, because that's like, it's going way over my head.
So you've got data in a bunch of places. Instead of like trying to, so some the tools like C Data, you say, here's all my data, but you establish correlations like this and this are the same thing, even though they're referred to differently. Create me one column of all this data that's all unified. So you can do that kind of thing. It's like a patch layer for your crappy data. To me, that's not really the way it should be done. It's like you still built a house on a crappy foundation. You just have this like veneer over the top to try and make it look good. So data virtualization, though, you would have your data set, instead of replicating the whole thing for AI, which is really expensive. They're finding out you can't really do this because of token cost. If you're feeding it this monster data set, every query costs a bunch. So you can instead have it query live data without having to replicate it for the AI. So you can save on costs that way, but that's only going to be as good as the data that it's looking at. But the C data tools give you a way to have it look at data that's a little more structured and better. Right. So, but this is a big, like, if you look at this process, you look at the larger thing here, the next couple points are going to highlight this even more, but it's like, this is becoming a complicated technical thing to do. Like, this is a whole lot of layers to try.
Are you saying you have to think ahead of building something? You can't just like,
I think
like a
that
busy bee.
That might be asking too much. It might be asking too much for businesses. You got marketing and sales over here. They need it now. They need it yesterday.
Yes.
You don't have time to do all this right. You're telling me it's going to take how long?
Do it now. I don't care. And I will
just ship it.
We'll figure this out later. Oh my gosh.
Will we?
So yeah, we won't. Spoiler alert. So thank you for pulling that up. Number 3, event-driven real-time systems. So behavior updates like cart abandonment trigger instant personalization flows. So it's no longer about history, it's about right now. So that's what the company, again, the data has to be live for that to happen and to actually use that for that purpose. Number 4, governance and trust layers. Data gets tagged with ownership, quality scores, and versioning. This is it's a big dream. You don't just use data. This is like, when I read that, my brain kind of exploded. You can trust it and trace it. Like, you don't just record something for the sake of recording. You sort of start using that data as with the future thinking of like, how is it going to be used so I can trust it later? So how am I going to name my columns in my sheet? Or do I have standards for that? Or do I have standards in all my, like how I put my notes in my HubSpot CRM or whatever? Like, you got to start thinking, to me, is that it's no longer just get it done because you need to get it done. And so are you following me? Like, am I making sense?
I'm following you, but there's a concept here that underpins this that is like a mind-blown moment for a lot of people. Data, if we think about like an item in a cell, in like an Excel table, that is a flat piece of data. It's you can think of it as 2-dimensional, we'll say. It's like flat sheet of paper. But real data for companies is dimensional. It has a past and it has a future. So it's 3D. It's not 2D. It's got this extra dimension. Data changes over time. Interestingly, blockchains capture this. They capture changes to the data and actually log it so you can see the history of this piece of data. It's not just, I just showed you this. Look, this is what the data says. Well, you can look at the forensics of that data and say, well, in the past it was this. So somebody changed it on February 28th. They changed it to be this value. So that data has a past. If you just got the new version, that could be used in court or something to convict somebody if you didn't know the past and know that it had been changed. You see, so the dimensionality of data actually matters a whole lot, and it matters for businesses too, because you can track changing sentiments. You can track all sorts of stuff. Real time suggests knowledge of the past, because what's the point of having the real-time data if you didn't know where we came from? You got to be able to trace an arc to be able to like say, okay, this is where we're going. If you just have a data point, well, you don't know what line this is on or what direction we're heading. You have to know the whole curve. So dimensionality of data is huge. This is moving us in a direction where we're going to have something more like that. And a unified data layer is essential to be able to do that.
And the ones that do it well, they correct AI outputs that trains, and that feedback trains the system. And so the companies that do this well right now, again, like I'm learning, I'm trying always to learn what the ones that are doing well, what are they doing? So Unilever, Oracle, and Microsoft, apparently they are kind of scoring high on this. right now in terms of actually creating healthy habits or hygiene with their data. And so that way, I guess they're brushing their teeth every, twice a day, and brushing the hair and doing all the right things so they don't have to undo this later, because that's kind of like, and I think this is going to be interesting for me. The people that are really good with data and understanding how to create systems with data that everybody can get on board and simplify it, because there will be people like salespeople, and I can say that because I'm a salesperson. I don't like updating my CRM. But it's people like who are actually in the weeds with clients doing that. They're the ones that need to be getting into those good habits of updating things so the data is live, and not I'll update my CRM in a week when I have time for that.
Yeah.
So those are the habits that I think are very important. So based on that, I've asked, okay, we know what the big guys are doing. What can we do with creators building companies that are small companies that don't have huge budgets, that don't have data scientists, that don't have all of these resources? What can we practically do with this right now to really ride this wave? Because I actually think smaller companies have it easier now,
Oh
because
yeah.
you can create.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like, you start young or you start early, and so you don't have to grow big and undo all of this hoarding that you had to do for many years. So I think I included the slide in the next one.
Let's oh yeah, so we had that. Let's pause for just a moment. We'll hit what the small businesses can do and what their advantages are in this new landscape. But I want to bookmark for you guys later this when AI outputs are corrected, the feedback trains the system. That is a hint at some sort of memory, some sort of adaptive thing. We're going from here to there. So think about that. That's going to come up later. This is very important. And to me, it's like a big limiting factor for AI. And then I also wanted to mention, so the companies that got listed here are Unilever, Oracle, and Microsoft. Well, Oracle is a big data company, so that's not too surprising that they're highly focused on data and getting this right. Microsoft's Microsoft, you can kind of see the correlation. But Unilever stands out to me. Unilever, I think, is it's like within the top companies in the entire world for the most product SKUs. They have the most products out there in the marketplace. And why would they be obsessed with data? Well, they know people's consumer purchasing habits based on the way their products sell. And they are probably desperate to put together a nice little matrix of information that creates predictability within markets. They want to know, like, oh, if this person's in like Amsterdam, what are they most likely to buy? What's the suite of products that would apply to them? Like, they're probably more focused on the whole advertising component that we're moving into than anyone else, because I mean, they've got all this ability now to track like lifestyle changes, products, suggestions, recommendations. It's very interesting that they showed up on that list too.
But no longer tracking, they want to go and adapt, right? So they want to be proactive, and that's the track that it's going towards, is the proactive use. So it's no longer this, and this is why I'm so happy we do this every week, because it helps me in my business so much to think about where it's going, and I'm hoping it's helping people that watch the same to start thinking once a week, what am I doing to keep up with this? Because this monster is moving. It's a locomotive. It's like it's going 100 miles an hour, whatever that the train speed in Japan is. It's going very fast, and we got to get on it. Like, this is insane. So what can you do today to take advantage of this information from the survey and what the big guys are doing? So connect your tools, use Zapier, make or native integrations that link your CMS, CRM, email platform, and forms, because data flow beats data experts. I hate data experts but then I always feel like I can't trust my data 100% because I wasn't sure like 2 years ago when I created something if it's still going to be good or not. And so this is now going to make me think, anytime we create something new, how do we think through that it connects with other things inside my business? So that way, let tools talk in real time. Start small, automate a lead form into your CRM and newsletter tool. So what do you think about kind of that aspect here first?
Well, I'm just taking like the broader view, and it's saying like have unified pathways for your data creation. got to have a unified data set. You got to have like the same things need to be referred to in the same way. The data needs to go into the same places. You don't want data all over the map.
So basically link like pipes, right? Like they're saying that's like plumbing. So link all your pipes together.
Yeah, you got to have unified ways. Like if there's this data, this type of data needs to get created through this pathway every time. Consistency of action produces consistency in output.
And that will require some proactive thinking, of course. Then you got to structure your data. So even in Google Sheets, use consistent columns, tags, and naming, right? So which is, it was important before just for the sake of not driving people that have OCD crazy, but now it's even more important because that actually now your OCD friend is your AI, and it only as good as the information that it's giving, you're giving it. So clean data is query ready data. And right now, there's news this week that Claude and C data lets you ask natural language questions about your data. So there's already a product there, which I want to check out, see data later. You literally can just like prompting and talking to it. But again, it can only talk about your data if it's good data. Like it's not going to give you like mind-blowing things if you don't have good data in there. So again, that's another boring, not sexy takeaway from today's show.
The bottom line is when you're dealing with data, a significant amount of planning and forethought is necessary. I think that a lot of people and companies and stuff have glossed over this through the years because they want to get to the result. But the reality is you're building a system. If you have a business, you're building systems. And if you're building systems, the longevity and the flexibility and the adaptability of those systems completely depends on the data. How you get the data, how it's what the data is, how it's structured, how you got there, the processes through which the data is created. That is all the most important things you can do. It's not sexy. No one wants to wait on that. No one wants to like overthink it. It's like, oh my God, we're trying to do this cool thing. We want to talk about all this boring data stuff. I get it.
Chris, can we talk about sex AI now? Come on. Why do we have to talk about bloated code and boring data? Can we talk about the prototypes?
We're going to mention the 2-minute Sora videos. We'll get there.
What about prototypes? Let's look how pretty it's
oh my God, I have lots to say on prototypes. We'll get there.
All right, we'll get there too, for sure. When we're making light fun of this because this is the actual things that will build you there. So create a real-time pulse, label key customer or site events, viewed pricing, click CTA, started checkout. Tools like GA4, Hotjar, PostHog, don't know any of them. I do know HubSpot.
You know HubSpot.
I love HubSpot. And the real-time visibility gives you insights before the quarter ends. Again, we are moving away from being just the dashboard reactive looking, right? What's happening? What happened yesterday? We are creating real-time pulse for the next step, which is treat feedback as training, so we can actually fix the output, label it, and then train the system that way. So
you're going to be at a place soon. Like, let's say you have so like your business, you have recruiters, and the recruiters generate data.
Yes, lots of data.
Soon you'll be able to wake up and you'll have an AI report and it'll say, okay, normally we have 16 entries along these lines, but yesterday there was only 4. Something's amiss. Like it will be able to, there's patterns in the data. This pattern was not, there was a deviation from the pattern today. Let's look at what the deal was. You'll be able to identify stuff right away, which is going to create a different and more accessible type of not absentee ownership, but like oversight, where you don't have to be there. And like a lot of people talk about having to babysit certain types of employees and all this. There's going to be an AI babysitter in place, essentially, that is going to really help with a lot of this. It's not going to be like a stern babysitter type person. It's going to be an oversight layer that's really going to help refine things. It's really going to be and can give nudges that are not personally like can't be seen as attacks. They're not psychologically damaging. It's just like, hey, the system has noticed there's a difference. It's
right, and then you'll be able to ask smarter questions instead of just give me a report. Ask which post this month brought leads. I mean, how amazing would that be? Which CTAs failed last week? And then you can design your data to support question-based discovery. So honestly, this is what I would literally do. I would take all of this as prompts, like all of that stuff. I'll put that in my ChatGPT and I'll start working on my data and like see where the holes are. Because I really, the amount of manual time it takes us right now to run certain reports is insane, because we have a CRM, we have an ATS where we track applicants, and then we have Google Sheets, and I'm getting really sick and tired of going back and forth. So we are going to be implementing this in the business because I want to learn from what the big guys are doing, and I want to start implementing that because my time will be pretty short if we stick to it. That's the question.
And then you have the emergence of a new bot layer that you create that asks you the smarter questions, that asks the smarter questions of the business.
Yep.
Okay, here's the results from the other stuff. Now ask these 5 questions. These are my 5 daily super important questions to determine what's happening with the business.
Yep. And then, I'm going to ask for recommendations on what happens.
And that brings another point. Are we not that far from a competent AI operator for a lot of types of businesses? Like, people talk about needing a great operator. Is this AI operator possibly in the mix?
I would love it, because one of the first thing growing companies struggle with is getting good salespeople. The second thing most growing companies struggle with is the operators, right? And integrators. And then I think but again, you got to have the data to have that. So it's kind of like chicken and the egg, but I don't know. Like, this is an interesting concept. I would love that to happen for sure. Maybe that's another business in the box, let's get your operator set up.
I'm interested.
And so Claudette's report shows that infrastructure is the next competitive edge, not just LLM that you plug it in. And even in massive organization, especially in massive organizations, the biggest pain isn't AI. It's the still unstructured data underneath it. And if small businesses build with this mindset now, they will leapfrog the AI curve later. So you're kind of like preparing yourself, not just to collect data anymore, but actually you're architecting for insight. And that's sexy to me.
I like that phrase, architecting for insight.
Yeah, for sure. This is what's you're gonna be able to do that.
It's not just nerd stuff. It's architecting for insight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we can really imagine like what would change in the business if our data was structured to answer questions, not just store history. Like, what do you think will happen? Let's just like dream. Like, what would happen with the business when that is going on? When our data is structured to answer questions?
I think you're going to have some more predictive things like, this is where we should go next. Because again, we got the dimensionality of this data. We know the past. We know what the current thing suggests, and that creates like an arc, a vector. It's pointing in some direction. We can react to that. We can make moves around that. Like, this branch is dying. This branch is growing. So more quicker, reactive sort of business decisions. So it's decisions, which is kind of the core thing anyway for businesses. You got to make decisions, but it's decisions that are based on real data trends and more live data trends.
I would love a business pulse. When you wake up in the morning and UI says, I've been thinking about this all night. This is the problems. This is how we're going to solve it. And this is what I've already done. What do you think? Let's go.
Yeah. I love it. This is the operator. This is your dream operator who's all over.
I light up. I want it now. Let's go. So anyway, we talk about AI.
I'm going to buy this domain real quick. Operator AI.
AI native products. We talk about that. But now what we talked about today is your business ready for AI or just AI curious? So we have AI native products that you can build, right? Or platforms. And now we have, is your business AI ready? And today, this episode showed you how to start taking steps and think about it and start chatting with your GPT on how to start getting your organization ready for that incredible, amazing operator.
Let's do a quick rundown. What makes a business AI ready right now? Like a small biz, what would be the checklist?
Well, I mean, we talked about the data. So you got to make sure the data is connected and kind of flows through your plumbing.
To me, that's number one.
Right.
Ideally, if you have unified software set up, so like if we have this data is always created in this exact procedural manner.
Yes.
If you can do that, streamline those processes. To me, those are really the two big things. If you have those two things, you can pretty much go anywhere from there.
Well, so when we look at the business optimization, you always look at people, systems, and marketing, right? So people, do you have upskilled, AI ready people? Like, are they using AI? Are they thinking about AI? What are they doing? Like, are they just writing emails, or are they actually getting themselves better with AI? So that's the first thing. The second thing was marketing. So we talk about marketing nonstop, right? So kind of like, how do you prepare your how do you get yourself ready to be discovered by AI, because that's where your customer is moving. So you got to be thinking about that. And then the third thing is the systems, which is, I hate that. This is my least favorite thing in the whole world, systems and processes. I just don't like it. I'm a sales marketing girl all day long. But I also know, like, I'm going to shoot myself in the foot if, as a business owner, I don't pay attention to this right now, because I can be ahead so fast, because I'm already ahead with my chatbots, my agents that I built for operations in general. Now I want to be more proactive with that. So what do you think? Do you have anything to add?
No. I think, these are the kind of the specific points that you really need to be paying attention to and elevating, like, oh, this is the most important things I can be focusing on to kind of try to take advantage of what's ahead.
Well, there you go. There's your cheat code. Let's go. Do you have any takeaway from this?
No, let's keep it moving.
That's good. Let's go to the next segment of our show today, which is Vibe Coding's first winter. Lovable grows while the sector shrinks. So the big news this week was Lovable, which I think they're out of Sweden. They launched Cloud plus AI for full stack builders. So Lovable, for those who don't know, and Chris, maybe you can explain this better than me, but it's a prototype platform that lets you build the app that you want to build using vibe coding. Like, how would you describe it?
So that's kind of been their main hook for usage, so you vibe code an app, okay? But the question with all of these tools is, okay, I built this thing. Now, where do I run this thing? How do I run this thing? How does this work in the real world? It's pretty much been a novelty for prototyping or for proving certain, proving concepts, I guess, but not for something you can actually run and use. There's a big difference between just making something, here it is, and like having something that's actually integrated into your systems or useful in a business context. That gap is very wide. Now, they rolled out their Cloud plus AI this week, which enables a very interesting thing. You can use this new setup from Lovable, and you can connect a custom domain. So you can have it yoursite.com, and it will be, routed through Lovable's name servers and everything, and your site will appear that way. So like, you don't need a server, you don't need to do web hosting. Your app that you made actually just runs at a URL. That's actually a significant step in the usefulness equation. So you could have that generate an entire website. That website can have certain capabilities. It can be AI enabled. So this is really, I think, the big hook. If you want to have AI capabilities like a prompt embedded on your website, this right now is the easiest way to do it. If you want to have a concept later today that works, you can use this and actually have like AI prompts on your website. They offer 2 base level connections, one to ChatGPT and the other to Gemini.
Yeah, Gemini.
And so the way that would work, if you were to try to do this on your own, you'd have to build your own prompt and all the API connections and all that crap, which is highly technical. And you would pay tokens. You'd have to buy tokens to each company. And you would have to choose, like, if this query gets routed to them, if the user uses this prompt, well, this is a Gemini prompt. If they use that prompt, it's a ChatGPT prompt, and it gets routed through there, and you pay, and you got your token exchange and all that. It's a lot to deal with. A lot of architectural decisions there. People don't want to think about that. So Lovable makes it, though. You pay Lovable, and they have relationships with those vendors, and they're just, they're charging you some fee that's, they're playing arbitrage. You pay them more than they're paying out to the providers, and then they'll scale you up if you're like burning up the usage, that kind of thing. But it's a unified thing. You only pay Lovable. It's like a single bill, like a cable bill. You didn't have to pay ESPN, MTV, and all these other companies. You just paid your one bill. It was a nice consolidated package. And it really is a way to bridge that gap for you to offer AI stuff on your website, because getting there from, using a tool like WordPress or something like this is a big challenge. So it's fascinating from that perspective. It's fascinating that you can run it on your own domain now.
But it still runs on their cloud.
It still runs on their cloud. So you got their
latency. You are still participating in the centralized platform. So if
you see cloud, you need to think decentralized.
They still own, right? If something is happening, they're still the ones that are kind of in there. So it's not. I don't know how you explain if it's yours or not yours. I guess it is yours. You can move it somewhere.
It's yours, but I don't know how portable that data is and all that stuff. You can use their AI to create content, so you can do a lot of pretty cool stuff. Now, I've seen some early criticism that it's hard to get super structured data to leverage GEO and AEO through what they're doing, but I don't really see, logically thinking about it, I don't see why that would be a bottleneck or a holdup. You think you'd be able to prompt that into the output. So I don't know. I think there's some promise there, but again, you're running it through a centralized thing.
Well,
who knows about you're beholden to their costs.
They are. It's hinting a strategic pivot from kind of the prototype playground to real production readiness, and I guess the proof will be in the pudding. As we continue to see success stories, and I'll be watching that space and we will report on that. But it will be very interesting to see, okay, great, you can build something, but can you actually build something?
Is it useful?
Well, can you scale it, right?
Yeah.
What will happen? It's great when you're just playing with it. What will happen when you have users that are playing with it, all this data, all these things, and what happens when things start going not right? I know they've got some partners that can help you with fixing things, but there's it's exciting and it's a nice, I asked you, do you think it's a competitor to WordPress or whatever? I think it's so in a different kind of in the different zones, but at the same time, I can see how this could take some people from WordPress maybe to start using Lovable for some of their projects. What do you think about that?
Well, this is an interesting distinction, and one that is becoming clear to me. It's already out there in the verbiage that gets used for the marketing for all these different types of products and the way people on socials will talk about it. But a growing contingency of developers, especially younger ones, see things as building an app. And if you're building an app now, you want a prompt. And so they would see this tool set offered by Lovable as okay, this is the suite of features I need. They're not thinking I need WordPress and plugins and necessarily all this. They're thinking I need these tools to make my app. An app for us old heads, it's, you go to whatever.com and it does a thing. That to someone is an app. It's not a thing that runs on the App Store. It's not like that. It's just a website with a purpose that does a thing. So, that's what Lovable is aiming for. That's what they're trying to capture. But the context here is interesting. Why this? Why now? Vibe coding had a huge glow up around May, June of this year, and it's had a huge fall off since.
Yep. Across the board. I mean,
this graph shows that every single company has seen a drop in traffic, and then a separate bit of information that's not included here is that they've had a drop in big high user churn. So drop in total traffic and a drop in the users coming back and playing with this thing. So Lovable, obviously seeing this kind of the OSHIT moment. Has responded with something to make, what the output is. They know that the output was only of limited use. How can we make this more useful? Well, this is a way to do that. So I definitely think a huge contingency of young coder types are going to be using this to try and make apps. I am very dubious about how useful these apps may be. It's sort of like throwing spaghetti at the wall. But, some stuff's going to come out of this.
Again, and then the question is, as it becomes more complex, at what point is it going to be a sweet spot to use Lovable and other products versus Wow, that's a big comment. How did
That's
she
a
do-
funny comment.
I know, but how did she do that so big?
Oh, you can choose to show or hide them. I figured that out last week.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha. So
let's
you
get
did
it.
that?
Yep.
Okay. That's funny. So I kind of got surprised. So there's another chart that shows another
Yes.
thing. So we'll get to that in a second. But basically, again, we'll watch Lovable. They in fact go play with it. It's free until October 5th.
Yep.
So they're trying to push for attention after the hype, kind of fades. So I want to play with it this weekend, and I want to build a little thing and just kind of see that. But here's my thought. I'm building another company, and I don't want to talk about that because there will be a time for that. But we are building a prototype for the app and what that would look like. And the process is so complex right now. And I am using Nana Banana and all those things and Figma and creating all the prototypes and how it works. But just thinking through the product, the MVP itself, it's taken us just weeks to think through that. And then putting it together and how it looks. And I'm just blown away. How can I use Lovable, as they say, to publish that? There's no way I'm going to do that because I'm building the whole company based on this app. So I don't want to just put all my eggs into this thing and do it wrong and then risk my customer, I don't know, acquisition, testing, all of those things. So I'm excited to see that there's momentum and there's a lot of money flowing into that. But at the same time, from a practical standpoint, if you're actually growing the real business, is there a use case for that? I don't know. We'll see. The jury is out.
There's definitely a use case for 22-year-old kids trying to build an app.
Listen, I think exactly. We'll see. We're not going to judge. We'll see what happens. So let's look at the total vibe coding traffic. So you guys saw the chart. So Lovable. So basically everything is declining. And they did have their kind of high point and then it declined afterwards because hype is again, you can only build so many things to look at, but what are you going to do with them? That's what matters. And I think this is where the vibing tools are kind of going this way, is that now what? I have this thing and then what? So this next chart kind of shows site visits. And I wonder if that trend is going to continue to decline. I don't know. What do you think?
Well,
I love cooked, or do you think it's just the winter? Is there spring coming?
I love this. Actually, the order in which these occurred. So V0 had the first peak, and then Lovable and Bolt had peaks in June, and then Replit had a peak in July. Replit is a coding IDE. It is an AI-enabled coding IDE. So you can almost look at this and see this going from okay, here's a cool prototype of vibe coding. We did something. That's V0 and Lovable and Bolt. And then Bolt's sort of more in the next one. But then Replit is okay, maybe this can actually be useful in a production environment. It's an attempt. An attempt was made. You tried. And then that fell off because it's seen that apparently coding is about a little bit more than just an AI spitting out code that actually works. Like I said earlier, I hinted at the shape of the data affects the shape of the software. Well, that is a complex thinking mechanism. AIs aren't doing this yet. There's a whole lot there. There's a whole lot of planning that seems to just be getting glossed over here that is not being done by the AIs yet. And who knows when. To me, it's a very that's a tough process. That's the art of software development right there.
Right. And what happens when users hit bugs or limits? They will need some real developers with skills to figure things out, right? There's only I don't know if anybody have experienced AI. Once it starts hallucinating, you just have to start a new chat. You just okay, it's just done. It just kind of hits the limit, and then it just can it's just okay, now what? So I don't know what's going to happen with all of this prompting. If you just start getting an app that you don't like something about, and then just okay, I'm done, and now what? Who are you going to go talk? Don't know. But
vibe coding. Well, that was fun.
Well, again, I don't know if it's correction. I don't think it's collapse. I think there's going to be something in it for vibe coding. And maybe Lovable is figuring it out. Like, you got to have what they're adding. We'll see what success will happen there. I really hope it is successful.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen contextually. So like I see a very clear path to the future for PageMotor to have what is essentially going to be vibe coding. You go into the admin, you say, I want this kind of site, and boom, it just, you hit the button, and then it refreshes, and you got that kind of site. If that's not vibe coding, I don't know what is.
But vibe coding is like what happens when the fun wears off.
Yeah. So it's really, instead of vibe coding, I think vibe coding puts too fine a point on it. It's vibe building.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think when I think about websites and anything like that, I think about, you're really doing a business thing. You're building a business of some sort.
Right.
A business or something to connect some dots. It's doing something. It's a pathway.
And it is a lot, you know, prototypes are fun. But I just want the whole journey, right? Like, I want the scaffolding, the whole journey. I'm like, okay, because at some point, like, you're gonna have to reiterate. You have to change. You have to change it. You have to. I mean, I don't know. And then the fact that it's living somewhere in a centralized world, it's another thing. But who knows? All right. Any other takeaways before we move on?
Nope. Vibe coding could be cooked, though. We'll see. It should be cooked. It's going to be so when I say it's cooked, what I mean is we are going to understand this in a different way. It's going to morph. It's going to change in more directions that force it to become more practical, more useful. And we will see some software responses like this offering from Lovable. We'll see things trending in that direction of being actually useful rather than being useful for just a prototype. A prototype doesn't matter. This is my biggest point for the day, maybe. A lot of AI stuff is about prototypes and proof of concept. But when I look at AI and I see what the possibilities are, we can, so I use this analogy on Esther's show the other day. In America, we've had these car shows forever, like the Detroit Car Show or whatever. And like Ford and all these other manufacturers would show off a concept car at this thing. It's this really cool looking car that's way better than anything we've ever seen before. And we think, wow, I'd like to have that. But the bottom line is it's not in production. To take that concept car and move it into production, it never works out. Like all these cool things that have been proposed and then actually made it to production, they always end up this like terribly neutered version of whatever we saw originally, like because they don't pass certain standards and all these things don't work out and these parts were too expensive, and it ends up being this Frankenstein mess in the end. It's like, wow, this is what I thought it was and this is what I got. I'm disappointed. Okay. So in the same way with AI, the prototype doesn't matter. I want to see a prototype. I want to see a concept car that actually works and is usable. And that's what AI can do. We can skip these steps of having like, oh, this thing, and then like we make this thing and it's not really this good. With AI, we can make a prototype that is the real usable thing. We can play with this. You imagine your business. You spool up this like suite of processes and software for your business, and you play around and you think, I don't like this as much, but I would like it a lot more if it did this instead. Well, then you roll up that prototype and you play with that. But it's like your actual business with your actual data. And you decide you like this better and you go with this. That's the world I want to get to. I don't care about prototypes. I care about like real results that are real, actually usable. And, there's nothing stopping that. There's no limitation at all. If you're playing around in a strictly prototype world, I think you're like missing out on the ultimate benefit here. So I'm building for that ultimate benefit. I want that.
Yep. No, this is why we're doing this. All right. Shall we move on?
Yep.
So very quick, I want to get through this episode. It was, it caught my attention, a company called Paid. It's results-based billing for AI agents. So just something to keep an eye on. They just raised 20 million, almost 22 million. And what their product is a billing infrastructure layer where AI vendors charge per verified business outcome, not tokens or seats. So you talk about this a lot. You want the billing to be results-based or outcome-based, and you kind of talk about how the payments of the future will work. And so I saw that clearly they've got a couple customers, I believe, that they're already having some success with. But what are your thoughts about, like, for example, there's a per booked meeting, per qualified lead, or per ticket resolved, or per invoice processed. So it's really like you're really paying based on the outcome. So what do you like? What do you think about that?
Well, I love the idea and the intent here. It'd be nice to pay on a results basis and not for like trial and error. That kind of pulls up the curtain a little bit. I don't think people are like consciously aware of how much business stuff is actually trial and error behind the scenes. Like you paid as a customer, you wanted this outcome, but really there was a whole lot of inefficient stuff that
but this is for AI agents, right?
Right. No, I'm getting there. So bottom line is this is the promise of a very efficient landscape where you're paying for actual results. We think we pay for results now with like people we hire and stuff like that, but not really. You're paying for on-the-job learning. You're paying for some failures that were resolved and things took longer than they should have. You're paying for a lot of messy stuff that doesn't really get presented in the package, but it's there. Now, back to another point that I've made in previous shows and haven't brought up in a couple of weeks, but it's definitely huge. It's one of the biggest things that AI is transforming for us is that we are moving into a world where we will know the cost of every action, upstream and downstream, accessing information, delivering information, all that stuff, cost per action. It's like getting in your car and instead of paying for gas, you actually pay per mile driven. You pay for the wear on the car, you pay for the wear on the roads. Like you know exactly the cost.
Somebody said to this sounds exhausting.
It does. It sounds like you're getting nickel and dime to death. It's not really going to be like that once the world looks like that. We'll be used to it. It'll actually be very comforting to know the cost per action because then we can make better decisions. You can be more informed about what you're actually doing.
Okay.
So if we know the cost per action of everything, it then becomes realistically feasible to have agents deployed to do specific things. Doing specific things is really a group of actions that point towards a specific outcome. And you could actually make a business where that would work. I look at this with a high degree of skepticism. I'm like, how can you really have a business, an agent, whatever, that can do this without wasting a bunch of money? Like, how do you get the pricing right there? You know what I'm saying? Like, like you really would have to have a particular process nailed down and know.
But if it's an agent does the work, then, if ideally you build it the way that it gets your result and then you only get paid. So you pay that the way
That's what I'm saying. That's a high degree of refinement. You would really know that it's definitely going to get results.
So these guys clearly are figuring out something because they are doing this for sales, for support, and for back office.
Right.
So they're picking things that would clearly you cannot argue with the deliverable of things. And I wonder if it's going to be nichified. And it will be like for lawyers or for this.
It will be for sure. It has to be actually. It has to be super specific.
I just wanted to put that on the radar that this is happening. They're raising money and they already have Artisan, sales automation, and IFS. Their early customers. So again, like it caught my eye. I was like, we're gonna have to watch this because this is fascinating.
I said when I first read this, I approached it with a high degree of skepticism, but then the more I thought about it, I'm like, well, AI gives us the ability to reach into this landscape where we know the cost per action. And if you know that, you actually can, like, that's the next logical conclusion. Like, this is the next step. You should be able to offer very specific results and only charge for results, which is phenomenal. This is this is the new service, the evolution of service. This is a more efficient service that actually you only pay for what you get, not for what you use even. You pay for what you get.
Because right now, if you want to go and have like an SDR, for example, get your leads, you have to pay the SDR usually some kind of hourly or something. And then, you also get some leads, but you're still having humans, doing this work. So I'm really curious to see, because AI it's not free, but it's pretty close to free. And so kind of like whoever figures out how to deliver those deliverables. And again, it goes back to the return on investment. You gotta start showing what's the outcome that you're delivering? What's the result? Because people care about that, right? So they care about results, not just paying for time.
That has some pretty interesting potential knock-on effects for marketing, if you think about it. Marketing and sales.
What do you think about that?
Well, it just becomes way more honest.
Yeah.
Like you don't really have to try and bamboozle people at all. In fact, you probably can't.
Well, I think that's what they're going for. That I think they're going for that visibility into what's happening and tying the performance directly to business outcomes.
Well,
You know,
well, sign me up twice.
I remember back in like 2000, whatever that was, 9, 10, I paid a ton of money for SEO companies, like $4,000 a month or something like that. And they told me it's going to take me 6 months to see the results, yada, yada. And I remember like, I was just like, I have no idea what we're paying money for. I did not know. Maybe things changed since then, but that's just will be interesting.
You were paying for those SEOs to have apartments in Santa Barbara.
Probably.
Pretty nice apartments too.
Anyway, we'll keep an eye on them. We'll see what happens. But I like anything with results and ROI. Sign me up. I love it. And they're actually building a company on that. Okay. Should we talk about the memory today, or do you want to leave this for the next time?
No, let's do that. That's shoot. All right,
Let's
I guess
do it.
we'll leave it. We'll leave it because it's a good.
Let's do it. Whatever. I mean, if you know, I'm having fun. So
all right, we'll do it. It's important.
Eventually we'll make the shows an hour long, but right now there's just too much going on. So
hold on, we got to introduce this. I got to introduce this.
Okay. Oh yes, you did this. Oh, we have our Dharmesh AI time. So Dharmesh is we love Dharmesh and his newsletters, and now we created. Why is there a dog in there?
I have no idea. This is what Nano Banana thought was applicable. He's holding a tablet that says news. The graphs are going up. We've got a robot brain. We got a human brain. We got a robot head.
We will play with this avatar for Dharmesh, but this is our Dharmesh news time. He writes great newsletter. Highly recommend getting on his list. It's called Simple AI. He's so obsessed with AI, and I think he's a CTO at HubSpot, and he lives and breathes it. Anyway, so this week he talked about memory. So the segment is called When Your AI Remembers You, Why Memory is the Next Battleground. So right now, every time you interact with AI, whether it's writing a blog, building a landing page, chatting, whatever, you're starting from scratch. And that's a massive productivity leak. So memory changes the game. So kind of to talk about the context, yes, the context helps. Yes, having a project helps, but still AI doesn't have the human brain where we store all the memories right now and we operate from one place. So large language models like GPT don't carry context across sessions. So every interaction is a reset. The model doesn't know you wrote a blog post yesterday or that you prefer a casual tone, and you have to remind it gently. And this creates friction. So users have to reintroduce themselves every time. And it's kind of tolerable for one-off tasks, but anything that has to have consistency, iteration, and personalization over time, it's kind of not that great. So they really don't have true memory. Everything you want them to know has to be refed to them every single time.
So real quick, some people will push back on this and say, well, I've created a bot that kind of keeps this thing up to date. The problem with that approach is, and the big criticism, is that eats your tokens. So every time you're eating tokens, and if you're expanding that context window over time, it's an infinite game. It's going to expand infinitely, which means your token usage is going to expand infinitely as well. It doesn't work over time. So that is not a good pushback argument. These LLMs do not have the memory, and that is a huge, huge, huge bottleneck right now.
So next thing, the context windows, which we talked about 3 episodes ago, I believe, that the context was a king or a queen. He calls it a queen. That context is a queen, but context window is not your memory. So you can simulate memory by stuffing the LLM prompt window with previous content and preferences, but the context window is finite. 8,000 to 128,000 tokens. As sessions grow, early content drops off. So even with clear summarization or this is expensive, like you said, brittle. It's easy to inject irrelevant or outdated context, and it's manual. So you have to engineer every prompt stack. So context windows are like Post-it notes. And memory is like a journal, if you can think about it kind of like that way. And then another thing, and I'm just kind of summing up his article, like you got to read it to kind of get it. The way he explains it is he simplifies it so much. It truly is a simple AI. So the third thing he talked about was RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation, which is a stopgap. So you can talk more about the RAG because I really don't understand it. But
yes, so basically you've got some database that you keep, and you point the AI to it and say, all right, here's everything you need to know. That process still eats up tokens. It still is limited by, I think it's limited by the same contextual window limits. Somebody who knows a little bit more about the inner workings of the hardcore stuff can update me on that if that's not true. But I believe it still kind of bumps into the same limits. It doesn't know the dimensionality of data, which we talked about earlier. It doesn't really know that the data had a past, or it's changed, or changed recently, or there's some new update. It only knows the flat picture of what you just gave it in that data set. So that's not ideal. If you talk to a human, like you have a friend, well, you have a whole series of experiences with that friend. And so you have a context window. And your friend understands that. And that's like a big part of your relationship with that person, is like this shared understanding that you guys have both developed over time. The AI doesn't have that. It's like your, super socially awkward, limited friend who only knows what you told it that day.
What was that movie? We probably haven't seen it. It's a romantic one where it's like 50
first dates
or something like that.
Yeah.
Where she wakes up and she has no idea. So he has to like show her the video.
That's hilarious.
Like that.
That's AI.
Right. So that is AI. So like, to me, this is so okay. Let's finish.
Yeah. So the RAG, the retrieval augmented generation, a real database that's going to be useful like that is complex to maintain. You've got to, there's just a whole lot there. You want to make sure that it's getting the right information. The context window is such that you can't give it everything from a large data set. So you only want to give it a certain amount. Is that going to be enough? Did I capture all the right things? There's a lot of questions there that make this clearly like not a great solution. Yeah. So it's a workaround. It's a hack.
So the thing that he talks about is that real memory is the next leap. So what we really need is an AI that learns over time, kind of like your friend, updates its model of you with each session, evolves dynamically. How do you say it? Dynamically?
Yeah, dynamically.
Dynamically. Reflects shifting tone, habits, routines, and it stores structured user-specific knowledge, not just prompts, but preferences, behaviors, and goals. Think of it as a user profile graph, not a prompt stack. So his prediction was that memory will be the defining feature that transforms today's chatbots into tomorrow's trusted assistants. And he kind of talked about the company that he invested. It's Mem0, I guess. That's how you pronounce it.
I think it's Memo, but
Memo. Or maybe it's maybe. Okay, so there's like some case study. So I was like, okay, what does it look like? Because I thought I was doing all those things right by giving the context and training my bots and giving them all this data. But he's right. Every time it starts a new conversation that I have to then put in the project where I can go and get information out, but it doesn't automatically do it for every time I use AI. So I have to do some manual steps. So do you want to walk through some of the case studies?
Well, yeah. Well, I'm not looking at those, but I thought of a real world use case that seems like exactly this.
Okay.
So for example, with PageMotor, I want you to be able to say, okay, create me this suite of content around this topic that's AEO and geo optimized. So you're going to create like 9 little chunks. You're going to create one page to point to all these chunks and do that. That's like one process you might do. And I could train an MCP or have like a ChatGPT bot that you would refer to do this. But that is a generalized approach. I made this one model. Hopefully this model works for you. If you're a power user, well, you've got some tweaks on this process. You do it a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. And so it would be really nice to have your own tweaks on that saved and not have to rely on my MCP or my GPT model. You want to tweak this to taste, say, well, last time we did this, but this time we could to refine your own model over time. You'd say, last time we did this, but this time I want to make these little changes. Like that process is exactly what you need to refine any procedure. And that is eluding us with AI right now. We don't really have a way to extend that to the end user in a way where they can use that powerfully yet. That's exactly the memory problem. We did it like this. Now we want to make these little changes. If you think about if you're going to deploy this stuff in your business or for any activity, you're going to need to do that refinement layer to get any real meaning out of this thing. And so that's really the key.
So if anybody's building a company or kind of a AI native product, so here's an interesting case study that I pulled up for this problem. So the company called Sunflower, and then they work with Memo on this. So Sunflower is an AI companion for addiction recovery. So it's needed high emotional continuity. So you don't want when you're recovering from alcohol or whatever, try to remind the problem every time, right? And so without memory, so users had to re-explain the situation every time. So it gets old after a couple times. And so the outcome after the integrated memory in one day, token costs dropped 70 to 80%. Users got contextual, personalized nudges, like it's been 7 days since your last journal. And the memory drove trust, retention, and engagement. So this is just a small example of like why the memory matters. Because again, if you're building the tool that will be helping people with AI, the memory has to be figured out somehow. Otherwise, it's like starting
a new
day.
Think of it like this. Think of it like this. The memory is what makes your friend your friend.
Yeah.
If this person just shows up with none of that contextual memory of your past, that's not really your friend. It's somebody who looks like it's like an avatar of your friend, but it's not the actual friend. And the same thing goes for like if you have somebody working for you, if you have an operator, this fictional AI operator for your business, that operator needs to know the history. To really be effective, it's going to have to know the history, just like your friend knows the history of your relationship. So,
well, it's interesting concept because think about our memory, right? So like during the day, we have so much going on, and then we go to sleep, and then the next day we wake up, and then there's some memories that will be stored for a long time, and then there's some memories like you will not remember. Like I don't remember if I closed my garage, right, when I left or whatever. So like some of that stuff just like gone. So how would we like? What would that look like with AI memory? When you don't, would you want to store everything, or would you want to store some things?
Clearly, you couldn't store everything. That's probably a process for the future. Once we get to the memory thing, we're going to realize that we're filling up, hard drives at an alarming rate.
I kind of have a different respect for my brain now because I'm like, oh my God.
Our brain does this. Our brain, so basically, when you're a kid, you retain everything because your hard drive's not full. When you're an adult, your hard drive's full. You got all this crap you got to remember. You're running all these processes and these reminders. You just don't have room for every little bit of information that came in through the day. In addition, you've seen all this stuff before. You've seen it a billion times. There's no reason for you to even think about it. It doesn't even get processed at this point. So the hard drive is full. Anything that's going to get stuck in here for retention as an adult who has a lot of experiences has got to be novel or tied to something else. There's got to be a reason for it to be there. That is going to be a challenge for AI memory sets in the future. How do we identify what should be there? How do we throw away what we don't need? I can think of some procedural ways where that will happen. That will be an interesting, nerdy field that comes up, but I will be digging that a lot.
I want to know what Memo has figured out in terms of, I'm guessing it's some kind of backend.
Yeah, what he described there, I'm like, I need to see this.
Right, but
how did they apply memory to this thing?
Well, I want to know. Maybe you can do some homework.
Well, so based on what I learned this week, I think they're running a local LLM type model, but you need a lot of compute power to do this. But I assume that this is like a funded company. They just bought like their own compute power to try and play with some of these situations, which this is exactly the kind of thing Dharmesh would invest in,
right?
If you think about it. So I assume that's what's going on. But what I'm really looking forward to is when we have edge AI devices with pretty high computational power, if we can run our own little decision matrices like this or run our own memory, it's like ours. We have it. We're not relying on this grid because right now you need like a supercomputing grid to do this. It's not accessible even to small business. But edge AI suggests that maybe we can do this stuff on our own pretty soon.
Yeah, but until we figure that out, I really highly recommend just keep doing the habits of the context and the training, so that way you can get the most out of AI.
Yeah.
Do you have any other kind of takeaways from this?
Maybe just more future tripping here. But like if you have your own, so right now your phone is kind of your personal device where if you died and somebody wanted to get information about you as much as they could, they would go to your phone first. That would be like the first stop. Like what's the most information I can get? It's probably on that device. with some sort of personalized AI or some AI assistant that really works for you and that has memory of you, it's going to be this edge device that you carry around. It's definitely going to be that. That's for you, the person. Now, how does this work?
Oh,
How does this
that
work
is
for? Yeah, yeah.
interesting.
So how does this work for small businesses? You're going to have some sort of edge device for your business, but what's that going to look like? I'm not quite sure, but there's going to be something like that for your person and for your business. This is what's happening.
Yeah, but what happens if you lose it? Like, what? I mean,
Well, how do we do data now? It lives in the cloud.
true.
Not ideal, but I mean, like, I'm not sure how we're going to solve all these problems, but this is where it's all pointing.
Anyway, but fascinating. I really can. You got to put a note for next time. Can you look at Memo and like how it actually works? Like
Yes.
what the back kind of the how is it built? I'm very curious. I think we're gonna skip the news for now. I mean, really, we talked about Sora, Claude. I guess I'll go with that very quick. Claude 4.5 Sonnet just finished 30-hour coding run. So, which is kind of the I guess the longest. It's had the record of the longest coding run. And so, which I guess the news of the week that you guys got to remember if you're in development world. And then for the talent premium, McKinsey and LinkedIn, I guess they did some kind of study that AI plus domain roles earn 30 to 50% more. Critical insight, don't chase pure AI jobs. Layer AI onto what you already know.
I mean, if you have a good AI talent stack and some specific or industry specific knowledge, you can go anywhere and command any job you want if that's your thing.
Remember, I talked about the three, levers in the business if you want to be successful, the people, right? So it's augmenting the people with AI. This is what I'm talking about. So those people that are already augmenting themselves with AI, they're already earning 30 to 50% more. And it's only, good luck from here. So that was interesting. Obviously, I have to mention that because I'm in that world, people world. And then in terms of funding, this week was huge. This week was huge all across the board. But the total funding for this week around the world was just over $11 billion. That's with the B. And AI share of that was $7 billion, which is 63% of all funding. 63% of all funding in the world is going to freaking, no, I shouldn't say that word, beep, that to AI. So I can't believe I said that. And then the number of AI companies funded were 64. That's about 36%. So
we got to combine those two. 36% of companies that got funded were AI companies, but 63% of all funding went to those AI companies. Yeah. So the money is clearly focused on this.
There's still money that's flowing. That's crazy. So US was the winner, 72% with 33 AI companies. Europe was excluding UK. I don't know why I excluded UK, but 8%. UK got its own little piece of pie, 7 AI companies. And then China, still skeptical, 12%. They don't have Russia on here, which is very interesting to me because I know a lot of things are happening in Russia.
Man, Russia's been canceled.
I know, but there's a lot going on there that we gotta remember. And so fascinating stuff. So who is raising the gold? Where's the gold going? Gold is going to AI infrastructure dominance. So chip makers, cloud platforms, developer tools drew massive checks. Another area it's going to is applied AI adoption. So healthcare, diagnostics and biotech, legal AI, and enterprise SaaS stood out. And the third kind of theme that was spotted was AI agent startup starting to appear across multiple verticals, hinting at the next wave of automation tools. AI agent startups. There you go. It's happening. And so the top companies, Celebra Systems, $1.1 billion, guys.
Infrastructure.
What the heck do they do? They do AI, they produce AI chips, right? Yep. So there you go. Providing compute power at unprecedented scale. I've never heard of them. Netherlands, $433 million and scale, an AI-first cloud platform designed for enterprise workloads. So Amsterdam is speaking up. Rebellion, South Korea, 250 million. AI accelerated chip company competing with NVIDIA and specialized inference hardware. So Korea is becoming also an AI chip player. Versal, 300 million. Developer platform powering AI-enabled web applications. And
So
then,
real quick, I see that developer platform. I think little guy, I don't know why, when I see developer, like, oh, anyone can do this. All these are big enterprise plays. These are enterprise developers. If you work at a large company with tons of data and all these initiatives, like these are enterprise focused plays almost exclusively this week. I just want to, to me, I need that distinction. Like, I feel like Lovable might be small operators, a couple of kids at home going to play with this. Vercel is not that.
Eve, also US, 103 million. Legal AI platform assisting law firms with litigation processes. So it's getting, kind of traction, boring stuff, right? Legal, financial, all that stuff. We talked about it. So that's kind of, what do you think about all of this for this week?
Well, I mean, infrastructure is still huge. Makes sense. Those are such sensible plays. I don't think anybody's looking at this thinking like unicorn. They're just thinking this is going to be a monolithic thing because this is what's driving the future. Some of these other ones, we got the biotech thing that just seems like it's like a heartbeat thing. It's always going to be there. It makes sense to apply AI or apply AI in these domains. The enterprise stuff is so fascinating to me because I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical because all these companies are playing the great refactoring game. And
well, they're trying to, we don't know, like, again, like if the plumbing is not there, if the coding is terrible.
Right. These feel like layers on top of that to like hope their way out of this to me.
Right. And this is, I mean, again, like we already kind of see the wording is on the wall.
Writing's on the wall.
Writing's on the wall. And so all this money is being thrown. Like, that's a lot of money. Now, $7 billion. That's a lot of money.
I could be naive, and some of these plays, these enterprise plays, could be platforms for them to build the software of the future that don't rely on the other stuff. But I mean, pretty much all of them have big data tie-ins and all this stuff. And it's like, well, if your data's bad,
why aren't they just all vibe coding? I'm just curious.
I mean, let's just vibe code a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's no big deal.
Let's do that. Why not? Anyway, I'm making fun of vibe coding, but I'm sure there's a place for that. So on this note, I know this was our longest episode forever. So thank you for being with us, Esther. We love your questions and participation. You are awesome. Thank you for being here and commenting and participating. I love reading your stuff, and you definitely bring a lot of freshness to the discussion. It's nice to have a third discussor in here. Do you want to sort of thanks for being here. Hopefully it was helpful. Shall we wrap this up in what do you think is the major key takeaway from today's whole show?
The key takeaway from today's show, eye on the memory ball, understanding, memory, AI's having memory and how that makes it a much more useful thing over time. Like, if you want to use AI to refine processes and to build, you really need this. Like, you can't really get around that. You have to have that to be able to do it. And then in addition to that, obviously the ads landscape and like how your interaction with internet is now kind of going to go through these prompt-driven LLMs, and what to expect there. If you're into SEO at all, like the nature of that entire industry is going to shift to this AEO, GEO, and learning about the ad placements in those platforms.
Isn't that crazy how it went from like pie in the sky, like, oh, this may happen one day, like 5 weeks ago or something, or 6 weeks ago. So now we're like seeing the actual plays happening with these big companies where, like, if you are paying attention to this and optimizing this, like, you already know what that means. So you're kind of ahead of the curve. But like, oh, GEO, people were arguing that's not that, blah, blah, blah. But now we're seeing like, oh, look what's going on. Shopify is in bed with OpenAI.
Yep.
And now suddenly
So that landscape has come together.
Yep. There you go.
All right. So last thing I want to show is I always talk about how I'm building Page Motor, which is sort of a CMS. I mean, you can think of it that way. That's limited in the way we think about it. It's a replacement for WordPress, but really it's a way to build all your stuff in the future, all your web-based assets, maybe even your vibe-coded apps of the future with AI. And this week I stuck this new Page Motor Architect AI. I stuck this into the admin side. And I'm working on putting that together right now. It interfaces with Claude Sonnet 4.5. Going to have it do stuff like you say, hey, I want to create some content. And it might create content like I described earlier, like, 9 little AEO, GEO optimized pages, one listicle type page to bring it all together for humans, for putting on socials or something like that. I even want to extend that to doing things like putting out all your open graph images for tying them all together, like thematically tying them all together for a certain suite of content, that kind of thing. Want to do it, have you be able to like change options on your site through the use of this Architect AI. But then I also have built in an extensible way for you to potentially add AI agents to the front end of your site. In the future, you can tie them to any LLM you want. So you could say, I want a ChatGPT bot on my homepage. The pathway to actually do that's already there. And I'm still building out exactly how that's going to work. But that's what people want. People want AIs on the front end of the website. That's what Lovable's play is all about. I'm nipping at your heels, Lovable. I'm not far behind. I'm going to have this in a way where people can, choose which LLMs they want, not limited to GPT or Gemini. And you'll be able to like run your own token-based environment there if that's what you want to do and play with. So that's all. This is all happening, gang. This is all happening. I've shifted my focus. I thought I was going to do a heavy e-com focus, but this is what it's got to be right now. It's got to be with this. It's got to be this real prototyping, real usable prototyping with AI. Going full steam ahead on this is what we got to have.
I'm so proud of you. It's exciting.
Oh, look at this. You can type a little bit, and now we can actually send a prompt. Let's watch it fail just for the end of the show here. Oh, there we go. All right, we did it, gang. AI.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Love you guys. This is awesome. I love preparing for the show. I'm learning a ton every week and using it in my business. Hope you use it on your business. Drop in a chat in the comments if you are. And look what Chris is doing. He's also taking all that information and building literally with that every week as we go. So we'll see you guys next week with episode 11. And I can't wait to see what happens next week. Bye.
Yep. Probably nothing. See you later.
Thanks for being here. Bye.